This is JJ Arcega-Whiteside of the Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you for listening to Fantasy Fuel with another JJ, John, Eddie Jr., and Tom Tuttle.
Well, welcome back to Fantasy Fuel. And if you are watching us, we're in the same room together.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's first time, so hopefully we have no issues like we have had.
Oh man, we've had so many issues. This is gonna fix it.
And if you couldn't tell, we are doing a sleeper episode.
Yeah.
This is the first of 2 sleeper episodes because we can't fit it all into one. So this week it's going to be AFC sleepers. But of course, before we get to that, we would like to talk about Pole Sports.
Pole Sports.
If you are watching, we have a Pole Sports logo. Finally, you can see it. It's there. Visit polesports.com to get all of your poll questions answered in a live type manner. We've been saying it every week.
Mhm.
We're going to keep saying it. I know you're already sick of it, but real instant poll results for the season. It's going to be amazing.
I'm not sick of it because I go there all the time now. I'm just typing stuff. I typed one in, and actually I didn't know something. I was like, man, what is it that I gotta figure this out? What I have to figure out Pole Sports. What am I doing? I gotta go polesports.com and do it. And it really did help. I had a lot of people vote on it, and it was really nice. So.
Yep. And it's getting to be that time of year where we're going to have everybody doing their drafts. And the middle of that is going to be August. And what's happening in August? Do you remember, Tom?
Oh, I think it's a something that we're doing. What was that? It was an expo or something like that.
It's called the Midwest Fantasy Football Expo.
That's it. Yeah, expo. Yeah.
We will be an exhibitor. We'll be in a booth. We'll also be on stage doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are anywhere near there, anybody out there, you want to go to Canton, Ohio and see what it's all about. And of course, you can visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Of course.
Well, if you're going to go there, you might as well come to the expo.
Yep.
And you can get tickets by going to midwestffexpo.com. And if you use the code FUEL, FUEL, you get $5 off your ticket. All right. Well, that's all out of the way.
Okay. I was going to make a really bad joke. We're not going to
go. No, we're not going with bad jokes
today.
No,
Not today.
All right. Well, we don't have a lot of news, but we do have a few things. And one of the things is Tom Brady apparently intends to foster Josh Gordon.
I mean, I could make a meme out of that. That'd be so perfect.
Yes,
a little baby of his face, and I'm sure somebody's already done it.
It's probably already out there, yes. Yeah. But yeah, apparently Tom has taken Mr. Gordon under his wing, and him and Giselle have actually been doing a lot with Josh Gordon, which is a great thing.
It's a good thing, yeah.
If he can get on his feet, the hype train for Josh Gordon will yet again.
Oh, there's a point to where the hype train just has to end with him. It's just constant. He's going to play this year. This is it. No, he's suspended. He's not going to play this year. And it just constantly keeps going that way. I really hope he gets his act together and everything will work out for him because I just want people to get better. Whether or not it's a real problem, I don't know. But, yeah.
Yes. Hopefully I have him in a couple of spots just as
it's always worth a little flyer.
Yes, he's always worth a flyer. So I'm kind of hoping because I don't have much stock in any of the Patriots this year, except for I think James White a little bit.
Of course. I do have a little bit of James White. I do think he's going to be good. It's because he's undervalued right now in fantasy football. So that's part of the reason.
So would you call Josh Gordon a sleeper?
Oh, no, I would not, because I just don't think he's somebody that I believe would be a guy that's going to get much. I think he's just going to be one of them. It's just every year he's hyped up. So if he's always hyped up, And I feel like that's the problem with him. He's not going to be a sleeper if you're hyped up.
Yep, that's true. Somebody's going to put him on a roster, and that's
Yeah.
all that
Yeah.
matters.
I mean, it's fine. You can have him on your roster.
All right. Well, I saw a weird stat, and I've never really thought about it before.
Mhm.
Peyton Manning and Brett Favre, they have combined for over 143,000 career passing yards.
Okay.
That's a lot of yards.
That's a lot of yards.
Neither one of them threw for 500 yards in a game.
That's pretty good. I mean,
you would have assumed 20 years of playing football, one of them
guys, gunslinger, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, one of the best to ever play. You would assume one of them would have. That's crazy. But I want to know how many commercials they've done together.
Oh, they've probably done 500 commercials together. So that's where they get it back. Yeah. Okay. All right. One more bit of news, which is personal to me. Matt Nagy keeps showing the team the loss to the Eagles in the playoffs.
What we're going to show the kicker missing it?
Basically, I don't know. Apparently, this is going to be their fuel for their season.
Remember this, guys, where he missed this field goal? Well, he's not on the team anymore, so we're going to win this game next time. I don't know. Is that what the message is? I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure, but they're going with it. I mean, whatever puts a chip on somebody's shoulder, if it helps out one guy.
Yeah, it might help out their current kicker. Maybe that's it.
Who is that?
I don't know.
It's not Chris Blewett. They already got rid of him, so we can't go with that. It's maybe that'll be one of our sleepers in the NFC episode.
Yeah, I'll have to wait and see on that.
All right. I do have one more little bit, and I'm not sure if it is or isn't, but we're going to go with it anyway.
Yep.
Like OMG, it's like so totally the cringeworthy player of like the week.
Every time.
Yeah, you have to wait for that little final, and then it's just perfect.
And again, I don't know if it's cringeworthy. It is to me as an Eagles fan, but Amari Cooper told Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio his goal is to reach 2,000 yards receiving in 2019.
No, that's cringeworthy. That is just so. Are you the only one that's gonna catch any footballs on that team then? Like, that's insane. 2,000 yards. When's the last? Has anybody ever caught 2,000 yards? Anytime in the recent? I mean, I don't even know.
That would top the single season mark held by Calvin Johnson, which was 1,900.
Okay, I was going to say it had to be somebody who was constantly being fed the ball all the time. Now, there's no way Cooper's getting close to that.
To put it into perspective, Amari Cooper's current career high in yards is 1,153.
He's pretty much got to double his career high. Come on, Cooper. Golly.
He's talking a lot. It's heading into his final year of his rookie deal. Mm-hmm. So I guess it doesn't hurt to talk. There's a little poll where I saw this. Will he reach 2,000 yards? Well, I'm going to go ahead and vote. I am the 998th person to vote no.
Okay.
There's 157 people that voted yes.
All Cowboys fans.
It has
Guarantee.
To be. Has to
Guarantee.
Oh, boy. All right. That's enough cowboy bashing for today. There will be more in the future, but let's move on to our sleepers.
Yes.
Now, a lot of these guys are deep sleepers.
Right.
Because we play in 16-team leagues, 12, 14. Any of these guys are going to be, well, not any of them, because there's a couple that are going to be on a roster already. Right. If you've done your draft.
Right.
But I still feel they're kind of sleepers for standard, regular redraft leagues.
Some of them, yes.
Because normally, and I've already talked about this before, normally you don't want to go after rookie tight ends. But I have a couple on here.
Yeah, and that's fine.
We've talked about them, but I really do feel that they could be sleepers this year. So let's start right off the top in the AFC East and the New York Jets.
I suppose I'll take it because
you could.
I mean, you can. Everybody knows I'm a Jets fan, but Elijah McGuire is the first sleeper we're going to talk about. And he looks buried behind Bell and Powell and Ty Montgomery. But the key word there is looks. He's not really buried because Ty Montgomery, I guarantee you, is not going to be there. He's not going to be the number 2 guy. Powell, yeah, that's a iffy one. That's a toss up to me between him and McGuire. But let's not forget that he stepped up when Crowell and Powell got injured last year, and he played pretty serviceable. He legitimately could be the number 2 running back for this team this year, and who knows what happens if Bell gets hurt. It could be a huge year for him. He did pretty good last year, and if you have him this year as a fantasy football, it could just give you a little something extra. A new coach, we got to see the kind of game plan that he's going to play out and see how it does play out.
I guess the whole thing with Elijah McGuire for me is anybody who owns Le'Veon Bell needs to take somebody else.
Yes. Yep.
And I think this is the guy
Mm-hmm.
that would get the bulk. And I'm not saying he would take 20 to 25 touches if Bell went down or just was terrible and out of shape, which I don't think he is.
No, yeah.
But I think Elijah McGuire would get the 10 to 15 carries a game and maybe 3 to 5 targets, something like that. It wouldn't be a bunch, but it would be worth it if you had Le'Veon Bell or somebody of that nature and had to get somebody.
Mm-hmm. And if Powell goes out, it's almost a guarantee that it's not going to be Ty Montgomery. I honestly don't know why Ty Montgomery is on the team. It just didn't make sense from the start for the Jets, in my opinion, watching the Jets every week, knowing this team better than almost everybody I know anyway.
Right.
It doesn't make sense to have Ty Montgomery when you already had, well, you didn't have Powell. I guess they just re-signed him not too long ago. But I don't know. I liked McGuire. I still like McGuire, and I really like Trenton Cannon as well. I thought he had some promise. Now it doesn't even look like Cannon might not even make the team, so we'll see what happens there. But I do think McGuire has a chance to be the number 2 guy behind Bell, and that does hold some fantasy value.
It does. Just a little bit. Like I said, these are deep-ish sleepers.
Right.
Some of them are going to be normal type sleepers, and we'll mention that when we get here. But most of these are deeper sleepers, that somebody that you're not going to have to spend a draft pick at all on. This is somebody you'll be able to find on a waiver wire up until preseason and say Le'Veon Bell doesn't play much, but Elijah McGuire does in the preseason. Somebody then is going to be, I'm going to stash him because he looks good.
Yep.
All right. Next on the list, we'll go over to my little man crush of a team is the Buffalo Bills. And we're talking about a new acquisition. It's not a rookie, but he's not old. Tyler Kroft.
Yep.
He is an interesting one. I think he's more of a sleeper now because of the slight injury that he had.
Right. Yep.
And that is going to make him more accessible.
Yes. And then one thing I do want to kind of look at is Josh Allen. Last year, he's better at throwing to his tight ends than he was at other positions.
That's because they can catch.
Exactly my point. But the thing is Allen's completion percentage was 52.8 last year. But to Charles Clay, it was 58.3. It's still not great. I mean, it's not the best you can see, but it's still a definite improvement. It's almost 6% better to his tight ends than it was to everybody else, which is a legitimate bump. This is Kroft's opportunity to be the guy this year. So there's a good chance he steps up his game. If he does, there's a good possibility he could be a good sleeper. Like, actually, hey, you could start him this week and feel good about it. So if he becomes the guy, it's definitely a look at as far as a sleeper type of thing, if you're feeling it.
Right. And because the Bills don't have anybody else really at tight end, they drafted Dawson Knox, but I don't see him as much of a receiving threat. Last year, obviously, Tyler Kroft was hurt.
Right. If he stays healthy,
The year before that, when he was filling in for Tyler Eifert, he had 42 catches for 400 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he is capable of being that red zone threat. And Josh Gordon didn't have any of those last year. Any of his touchdowns were him rushing the ball or probably throwing a deepish pass. And he needs somebody in the red zone, and Tyler Kroft could be it. So hopefully he gets healthy and he doesn't need any extra time before the regular season hits, because I've grabbed him up in a couple of leagues.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie, but again, we play in deep
these
leagues.
are,
So
and it for Tyler Croft, once you get past like the 10th or so tight end, it gets kind of bumpy anyway. So if you're going to wait that long, you might as well just kind of say, hey, maybe I could go with Croft or maybe one of these other tight ends that we're going to talk about later. But once it gets past the 10th guy in the draft, it's like, well, you might as well just pick somebody you think has a chance to be a pretty good sleeper this year. And that's what we think Tyler Croft could be this year.
there you go. All right. Moving along in the AFC East, we have the Miami Dolphins and another person who was hurt last year. And I think we've said this before when we did sleepers last year. A lot of the sleepers for the following year are guys that may have been injured the year before.
Right.
And that's why they're flying under the radar. Now, this guy's flown under the radar.
Yes, big time.
Forever.
Yeah.
And we talked about him last year, and we're going to talk about him again this year, because in leagues like the Flag League, you get points for
return yardage.
Yardage. So if you haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about Jakeem Grant.
Yeah. Again, last year he was a little bit of a sleeper for me as well, if you recall, a whole year ago. But yeah, in the Flag League, he averaged about 15 points per game because of the return yardage. That's a big part of it. But another thing that I think is definitely something you got to pay attention to is three names: Devontae Parker, Bryce Butler, and Albert Wilson. There's a lot of question marks there. And I think that Jakeem Grant, if healthy, can actually be a really good slot guy. And all these guys are kind of slot type receivers to a certain extent. And I think that Jakeem Grant, if any one of these guys gets hurt or is underperforming, I think he's going to be a fantasy relevant outside of return yardage as well.
I hope so.
Yeah.
He is kind of like Tyreek Hill.
In a sense, yeah, you could see that.
He hasn't had a great gunslinger of a quarterback to throw to him, and he's had a couple of injuries. So, again, deep sleeper. But if you're in any kind of a league that has return yardage, he is worth a look, because nobody's going to draft him, and he's going to sit there, and you can scoop him up. You know, if you want to take 4 tight ends in your draft and hope a couple of them pan out, and then you have droppable tight ends towards the end.
That's
you
true.
can drop a guy like, whatever for Jakeem Grant, and then you might have hit a gold mine.
That's
I mean,
very
he
possible.
saved my season a couple years ago in the other salary cap league that I was in, when he came on at the end of the year and was catching touchdowns as well a couple of times. So he'll throw in one of those, and if you have 11 spots you need to fill, you might need a guy like this.
I completely agree. I've always liked him. I liked him 3 years ago even, and that's when I picked him up the first time, and it didn't quite pan out, but he still showed me some sparks, and it's definitely somebody that you have to keep your eye on.
All right, rounding out the AFC East, it's the New England Patriots, and what are they doing at wide receiver? We talked a little bit about Josh Gordon. We don't know anything about how that's going to work. We know they have Julian Edelman. We know they have other people on the roster.
I would say Philip Dorsett needs to watch his back, because Inman is coming for his spot. I don't think that that's going to be a pretty good competition going forward. But here, I do have a list of wide receivers that are on the Patriots that I'm worried about this year. Demaryius Thomas, Josh Gordon, obviously, Philip Dorsett, and maybe possibly N'Keal Harry. I know I'm a little higher on him than you are.
Yes,
obviously,
you are.
But we'll see what happens with that. But these are guys that all have some question marks. I can legitimately see Inman being a third wide receiver on this team. And even if he's not the third wide receiver, who's to say Tom Brady connects well with whoever's playing the tight end position this year? Unless Gronk comes back, then it's going to be a different story. But so we might see Inman on the field more anyway, which would give him a little bit better of a fantasy look.
Yeah, I really can't add too much to that. He's just a guy that he has stepped up when needed. A couple years back, with Phillip Rivers, he actually had a decent year, 800 yards and a few touchdowns. So it's possible if he does his work and he gets on any kind of a good page with Tom Brady, he could, do something. I mean, when he was out there with Andrew Luck, he was actually putting up 10 points per game.
Yeah.
He had 17, 21, 15, 10. Like, he had some decent games. And of course, he was hurt last year. It seems like that's a running thing for us so far. But we prefaced by saying injuries are a thing when it comes to sleepers.
Yes.
So
very true.
Watch the preseason. Obviously, Tom Brady's not going to be out there much.
Right, of course.
So it's not going to be the whole story, but if one of these guys does look good in the preseason and Bill Belichick says, I trust you, that's the guy you're going to want.
That's a big I trust you. I mean, he's the best coach in the league right now, hands down, in my opinion. And that's hard for me to say. I mean, it kills my heart. It tears it in two to say such things, but he is a really good coach. One of the best of all time. I'm never going to put him as the best of all time. He'd have to win 5 more Super Bowls for me to even consider it. But Tom Brady, I've already given him the best of all time, so I can't give it to Belichick too. But yeah, I completely agree that he is a very good sleeper possibility this year because there's just not a lot of trustworthiness in Thomas and Gordon and Dorsett. So,
all right. Well, let's move on to the AFC South, and we'll start with the Houston Texans, and that is where my first rookie tight end comes into play. I'm talking about Kahale Warring.
Yep.
Now, I'm looking at last year's people for the Houston Texans, and the highest point average wise was Jordan Thomas at 5.4.
Yep.
And he got that 5.4 by having a 22-point game, a 15-point game, 11-point game, and a whole bunch of nothing games.
Right. Yeah, I was going to start saying out there's another 3 names you can say in this one. Jordan Thomas, Jordan Atkins, and Darren Fells. Now, Darren Fells had a couple years where he was actually somewhat legitimate. But, I mean, unless Warren is a complete bust, which I don't think he'll be, he should be the starting tight end for this team. The other tight ends are just not tight ends that you want starting on your team. The way tight ends have been the last few years, again, if you don't go after the first 10 or so guys, you might as well go for somebody like this. And why not take a chance on Warren?
Yep. Like I said, you can do that. Take 4 tight ends, and Kahale Warring could be one of them. And if he does nothing in the preseason, you can drop him for Jakeem Grant. Just like that.
Exactly.
That's what my point is. Now, in the flag league, I have Jordan Thomas and Kahale Warring. So as long as one of them steps up, I will be happy. Now, I have Zach Ertz, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I will need somebody eventually because I can't keep franchising Zach Ertz every single year.
It's going to get very costly.
Yes. Next year might still be worth it, but I don't know if I can go there yet.
Well, how much is he right now? Do you have any idea?
I do not. I think he was like $14-ish.
That's still fairly priced good there.
I believe he will go up by like 30% next year. And that would be another $5.
Tight ends have been known to go over $20 in that league. So it's
and the ones that went over for $20 were all bad.
Yeah, they're complete busts. It's crazy. But yeah, let's talk about another tight end that could be a possible sleeper.
Oh, this I believe is probably my favorite on this list.
Yeah, by far.
I really like this guy, and we're talking about the number 2 tight end for the Indianapolis Colts. And this number 2 tight end, he wasn't always really a number 2 tight end, and he was somebody that Andrew Luck really likes, and that's Jack Doyle.
Right.
Now, I'm looking at stats from last year. Obviously, Doyle only played in a handful of games.
Right.
It looks like half a dozen.
Yep.
But in those half a dozen games, he was fantasy relevant.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Every one but one.
Yep.
He averaged 14.5 points a game. That's pretty good for a number 2 tight end. And all those points, those games that he put up those points, Eric Ebron put up points in all but one of them too.
Exactly. Everything you're saying is exactly what I was going to say. Andrew Luck can make both the tight ends look good. I mean, they're valuable in fantasy football, both of them when healthy. If Doyle stays healthy, he's got a really good chance to be very fantasy relevant this year as a tight end. So this is somebody that it's even almost better. Like I would consider Doyle over the other two tight ends that were already talked about, because he's not going to be in the top 10. That's a guarantee. Nobody's going to pick him in the top 10. But if you already have a tight end and you're thinking, I need something else, Doyle is going to give you some points as long as he stays healthy, because last year he did get a little hurt there for a little while. But yeah, to me, this is the new version of Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. It's a little different as far as how it's put together.
Right.
But two fantasy relevant tight ends it's really crazy to see anymore. And I think that Jack Doyle is definitely somebody that has something going for it this next season.
So if you're going to make one of these, how do I put this? If you're going to take this strategy of punting tight end when you don't get one of the top 3, 4, 5 guys,
right.
I fully suggest getting Jack Doyle as one of your couple of punted tight ends. Now, I'm going to list off my tight ends in the last league that I just did. It was an auction league, and I had to spend more than I wanted to get Travis Kelce, but it is a tight end premium league. So I basically got 2 first rounders in this league because I went with Travis Kelce and Christian McCaffrey. So I had to spend a lot, but in this league, it's a lot of points. Now, it's again, you play 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end, a super flex, and then 5 of whatever you want. I could legitimately play all 5 of these tight ends if I wanted to. I probably shouldn't because I have better options, but I have 5 tight ends on my team. Travis Kelce, Cameron Brate, who we might talk about next week. Jack Doyle, Tyler Kroft, and Kyle Rudolph.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they all have possibilities. There's no doubt. I mean, Kelce obviously is going to be a monster this year. If he's not anywhere close to monster, I'll be really disappointed. But every one of their guys you said there have some kind of a question mark to them, but they all have a really good chance to be something bigger. And you could definitely start them. I would say it's almost like a best ball type of thing with them. Like this guy could do good this week, or this week, this guy, or this guy. I could see that happening more than just playing all 5 of them in 1 week. But yeah.
Now, when the season gets here and we're going live, if we can do this on Sundays, this would be great.
Yeah, it would.
And I would like to be more of the tight end whisperer that I have talked about in the past and do a little bit more research and tell you guys some of these off starter tight ends that if you need somebody and they're playing against that weak defense, that's one of my focuses this year. Is I am going to be all in on tight end knowledge this season. We'll see how far that gets us. But my plan is with these 5 guys, if 2 of them pan out, I'm great. If more than that pan out, I'm going to be able to upgrade my wide receivers because my wide receivers are not that good. But again, I only have to play 1 of them.
We'll list your wide receivers if you can.
All right. I have Jarvis Landry and Dante Pettis. Those are my top 2 wide receivers.
Wow,
it's not great. It's not
pushing
great,
it a little bit.
But I only have to play 1. Now I have Geronimo Allison and Equanimeous St. Brown.
There's a possibility one of them could be big.
They'll be talked about next week. I have Chris Conley from Jacksonville, who I think could have a decent rapport with Nick Foles. That was a total like $1 bid in my auction. I have Michael Gallup, who if Amari Cooper gets 2,000 yards, he will be worthless.
Amari Cooper. Oh my God.
I also have Deshaun Jackson. Who I think is going to be a best ball-ish player.
Okay, when you started out with Landry and Pettis, I was like, where's this list going to go? But you got guys that don't drop that far down away from them, so I like it.
And I have one more that I had to pay more than I wanted to, but it was the last guy I was trying to get, Zay Jones.
Hey, Zay Jones. I remember that guy.
I
couple
should
years
have dug
ago.
up your ESP from last year
Yeah.
and played it this year.
That would be a mistake. That would be a mistake because that was I don't remember what I said, but I know it was way beyond what he actually
But
did.
do you remember what I said to you?
I don't.
I said, let's play this next year because I think it has a better chance of coming true in 2019 than 2018.
Yeah, that's I should have we should have just realized that from the start. But hey, the feeling, I can't control the year, guys. I mean, it's a feeling. All right.
Okay.
But you did say you had Chris Conley on your team, correct?
I did. I mentioned Chris Conley, who we have as our next sleeper in the AFC South for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he is an interesting, very interesting player.
Yeah. He's a better wide receiver than most people think, I think. And that's why he could be a potential sleeper. The Jaguars wide receivers all have question marks. I mean, every single one of them to a certain extent have some kind of question mark. So if Conley can make a quick statement real quick, I think that will be the best thing for him. He's been known to be okay. It's nothing special with him, but he could have a bigger role than most anticipate. Yeah, go ahead. I see you trying to get something in there.
Yes, which is great when we're actually looking at each other in the same room. I can be like, hey, all right, I got something. This is good. The point I have with Chris Conley is Nick Foles is a new quarterback in a new system, on a new team.
Right.
So everybody is up for grabs
It's
as
like
a wide
equal
receiver on
opportunity,
this team. We've got D.D. Westbrook.
Yeah.
We've got DJ Chark.
Yep.
We've got Marquise Lee. None of these guys have proven it yet.
Exactly. Yep.
Chris Conley obviously hasn't proven it, but he has had a couple of years, 32 and 44 catches. He had 5 touchdowns last year, obviously with Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Anybody can get 5 touchdowns with Patrick Mahomes. I wonder if Sammy Watkins did.
I don't know. That's a good one.
I should look him up. Oh, he probably did.
I'm sure he
was
did. He
close,
got close
but
to it.
that's my point with Chris Conley is it's anybody's game there in Jacksonville, and this guy is going to cost you nothing. Like I said,
nothing.
he cost me $1 or $2 because I saw him, and I've always hoped he would pan out somewhere.
Yeah, and like I said with a couple of other guys, even if he's not wide receiver 3 or 2 or whatever it is, if there's one injury on that team, or like I said, somebody's just stinking it up, he's going to slip into that, and he's going to have a good role for that team. So I honestly think he's a good chance that you could see a little bit of production out of him to actually help your team, especially in deep leagues.
Yes, and nobody's going to roster him in anything but a deep league right now. I just wanted to look on. I don't remember if I still have him or not. No, I do not have him in the flag league anymore.
Okay.
I was a little disappointed by that one, but that's okay. We've got one more team in the AFC South, and that is the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
And if you've listened to us in the past, we don't like anything about the Tennessee Titans this year. I like Derrick Henry a bit.
Yeah,
I got him in that auction league.
I'm fine with Henry. There's no problem there. The wide receiver is very, very, it's just up in the air with some of them guys, and they're just some of them you just don't like. And it was hard to find a sleeper out of this team, but we've done it.
We have. Maybe. And there have already been reports in Tennessee that Marcus Mariota has looked awful.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, this is wow.
So, like I have been doing, and Tom and I both have been doing, together and apart, all these new leagues, they want to be super flex.
Yes.
So you got to have a couple of quarterbacks to compete.
Yep.
And when you only get a couple quarterbacks like I did in the auction draft, you got to hope somebody else pans out.
And who are we talking about that we're hoping to pan out?
The one on this list today is Ryan Tannehill.
Yes.
Who obviously has been a starting quarterback in this league, and he has done okay.
Yeah, nothing spectacular, but he hasn't been the worst.
I mean, he's always thrown more touchdowns than interceptions, which is a good start.
I'd say he's arguably the best backup quarterback in the league. Now, that's arguably. I'm sure there's some other guys out there. That's
because
Nick
Foles isn't there anymore.
He's no longer there. So.
Exactly.
I would say Nick Foles would be the best backup in the league, no doubt, if he was a backup, but he's not anymore. So he's also arguably the best quarterback on the Titans. So there's a problem there.
Man.
But I would say if the record for the Titans is halfway decent through like the first 4 or ish games, and Mariota just hasn't looked good, they might say we have a chance here, but we need better quarterback play. So Tannehill, you're going to get a shot.
And now, this is the thing about Tannehill is he's been in the league for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years.
Yep.
That's not a terribly long time for a quarterback to have been in this league.
Right.
If you're decent and you're not completely injury prone, which he had one really bad injury year.
Yep.
So if he doesn't have to worry about that again, he's not old as far as quarterbacks go.
Right.
Now the Titans, they have to figure out whether they're going to pay Marcus Mariota $25+ million a year to keep him around.
It's going to be Tannehill.
If Marcus Mariota isn't playing up to snuff, they have to figure out, do we have something in Ryan Tannehill?
Yep.
Or did we just sign him, trade for him for no reason at all?
And that's exactly what I'm saying. If week 4 or 5, something around there, that's when there's a possibility Tannehill might make it. If he doesn't make it week 1. I mean, it's a possibility. He could be the quarterback week 1 because if Mariota just looks like garbage throughout the entire preseason, I cannot imagine that they would say, well, Mariota, you're still the guy. Tannehill's looked pretty good.
Right.
But Mariota, you're still the guy.
And
no.
If that happens, if Ryan Tannehill takes over for Marcus Mariota, Adam Humphries will be fantasy
there
savior.
You go. We did it. We found it.
He will be a fantasy savior. I'm telling you right now, if Ryan Tannehill enters for the Tennessee Titans and they don't look back, you are going to want to trade for Adam Humphries.
Yes. And we finally found the window for Adam Humphries.
We finally did.
It's Tannehill. That's the window. We've been just, Adam Humphries, why'd you go to the Titans? Why'd you go to the Titans? Now there's a possibility with Adam Humphries. We don't have to sit there and say, man, I don't like Adam Humphries.
Yeah, but right now we don't like Adam Humphries. Because Marcus Mariota is still the quarterback. He hasn't been injured. He hasn't sucked it up. So we have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've made it through 2 divisions. We've got 2 left. Let's go to the NFC or the AFC North. Sorry, and we'll start with who is Lamar Jackson going to throw the ball to this year?
Well, the team has Willie Snead and a bunch of young wide receivers. Well, there's also Seth Roberts. So Seth Roberts is the guy that we're talking about as far as a sleeper here. Nobody's talking about him because everyone's talking about the rookies. And Roberts brings a little bit of experience, and he brings a little bit of fantasy relevancy as well. Last year, he had almost 500 yards in 45 receptions. He had 2 touchdowns as well. So he's not a superstar. There's not superstar numbers, but it isn't terrible either. So there's some kind of value there with him. So if he can actually push himself out over these younger guys and these rookies and show that he has that experience and he can do that, he's going to have a good possibility to be a good sleeper candidate this year because he definitely has a potential. That's what I'll say about it.
Yeah. Do you know who else is on the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver core that not a lot of people may know right now?
Enlighten me.
Michael Floyd.
Michael Floyd. Oh man. Yeah. Where has he been? Wow.
He has just bounced around. He was on the Redskins last year and did nothing. He averaged 2.5 points a game. He had 1 decent game towards the end of the year versus the Titans where he had a catch for a touchdown.
It's unbelievable. He was decent back in the day, and he just fell off the map. I've never even thought about him since then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
So if you want to go really deep in sleeper mode, if you're playing in a 32-man league with 1 copy of everybody, there you go. Michael Floyd. Those rookies and Lamar Jackson has to trust somebody.
Right, exactly.
Willie Snead is a great story. He had a couple of great years after he finally broke through, but I don't think he's going to be the guy for Lamar Jackson.
I think he's semi-trustworthy because right now he has to be because there's just not a lot of other guys that you can put trust in yet. There's a possibility that you can put trust in some of the younger and rookie guys, but you have to find out. And that's kind of where we're at with, well, that's where I'm at with Snead.
Yes.
But that's also kind of where we're at with Roberts as well. So,
yep, pretty much. I guess we'll move along.
this one's all you, man.
Yeah, I know. I put this one on the list only because, again, I was just on a Superflex draft.
For
and-
Superflex, he's fine. I don't have any problems there. But
I
Yeah.
also think it's a good possibility that Andy Dalton
okay.
has to have a decent year.
Okay.
The Bengals aren't that bad. I'll put it that way to
Okay.
start with. The AFC North is up for grabs. The Steelers
Yeah.
aren't what they used to be. We don't know what we're getting from them yet. The Browns, we could see them be the Browns still.
That would be so disappointing.
It would be extremely disappointing,
Yes.
and it would be something to talk about all year long.
Oh, yeah.
And the Ravens, who we just talked about, if
Yeah, I
Lamar
agree with that.
Jackson can't
I agree.
get it going and that offense becomes predictable where it's just run, and then a pass on third down, they're going to get shut down. The Bengals have a legitimate shot at winning the AFC North.
If this was a sporadic 8-game period, then yes, I'd say that, because Andy Dalton is sporadic and he does really good for half the year. But all the rest of the year, all the rest of the weeks, and you don't know which week it's coming
Right.
with Andy Dalton. That's why I didn't want to talk about him being a sleeper, because I've bashed him enough to where I don't feel like I can talk about him being a possible sleeper candidate, because there's so many other guys for me for quarterbacks that I would rather go with.
Oh, of course.
But yeah.
This is, again, if you punt the quarterback position,
Yes, of course.
this is one of those strategies you can go with. You can take Andy Dalton and Nick Foles.
Yes.
And maybe one of those guys pans out, or you stream all year long.
This,
and this is one of the
he's
guys you can
another good
stream.
candidate for like a best ball type of thing with him, because
very
he,
much.
like I said, he's sporadic and he can have really good weeks, and then he can just have really bad weeks where he gets you negative points out of a quarterback, which is never a good thing.
Now I'm looking at his stats over the last like 9 years, whatever it's been.
Sure.
And my fantasy league, where I'm looking at these stats, they have projections for the 2019 season. And they're projecting him to get very close to his career highs. It's very interesting. They have, it would be his second best touchdown performance and his third, I think, best yardage performance. So if
Okay.
he can do that, I mean, 28 touchdowns, that's pretty good for your starting quarterback.
Yeah, it's not bad. I'd say the key for him is probably the running back. If their running game can be good this year, which it can be, Mixon's a good back.
Right.
But if they can put it together on the running game, they can definitely open things up for Dalton to not have to be a perfect quarterback, so that he can actually find an open receiver and not try to throw it into a covered guy and make something happen. Because that is part of the problem that they had in the past, where they didn't really have the best of running backs. I know Gio was good, and I can't remember the other guy that was on that team that year, but they've had okay guys, but nothing like Mixon. To me, Mixon is the best running back they've had in a while.
Yes, Jeremy Hill did not cut it.
Jeremy Hill, there it is.
There you go. Speaking of running backs in the AFC North, let's move along to the Cleveland Browns. And no, we are not going to talk about Kareem Hunt.
Nope.
He's not a sleeper.
Nope.
Everybody understands who he is.
Yep.
The guy I'm talking about is the guy that could make a difference in the first 8 weeks of the season, or he might get traded before then.
That's a possibility as well. But if he doesn't get traded, I Duke Johnson, I think this is almost too obvious for me. Like, it's just, he's a sleeper because nobody's thinking about Duke Johnson.
Not anymore.
No, the first 8 weeks is going to be the look that he's gonna, if you have him 8 weeks, that's almost the whole fantasy season. It's darn close. So if he's still on the Browns, he's gonna have good value. Chubb, Hunt, OBJ, Landry, Njoku, and Mayfield, all of them take away the focus from Duke Johnson. Nobody's thinking about him. If he's in a draft right now, I don't even know what his ADP is, but it's got to be darn close to the bottom.
Oh yeah, after the Hunt signing, he's just been falling. I don't even know if he's been getting drafted in some of the normal 10 and 12 team leagues, but Duke Johnson has a serious shot. I mean, he's caught 50 plus balls in every single year. Last year was 47, close enough. 429 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Right.
And of course, no matter how you have Duke Johnson, I think best ball is still a good place for him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But this year, he might fly under the radar.
I think he already has. Unless he gets traded, then we'll have to see what happens there. But yeah, he's definitely got value this first 8 weeks, in my opinion, because Chubb's going to be good. He can't do it all. And Duke Johnson can catch the ball like anybody else as far as the running back goes. So he's going to have good value in PPR.
Yes. He was rumored to be traded to the Eagles at one point during and before the draft, I believe. And I was like, I'd be okay with that. He wouldn't have as much value on the Eagles, just like most of the running backs this year. I mean, I am hyping up Jordan Howard a little bit because I don't think they're going to throw Miles Sanders out there, but that could be next week's episode. We might talk about those guys there.
Yeah.
One team left in the AFC North, that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And there is so much talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver core that one guy is not being talked about.
Yeah.
And that guy is Eli Rogers.
Yes.
He was hurt most of last year, but he came back for the last 3 weeks and he put up okay numbers. He really did. James Washington was there all year last year.
Yep.
And only had a couple of okay games. Dante Moncrief is coming over from Indianapolis, and we don't know what to expect from him.
Right. I'd say this is another example that there's younger guys taking the spotlight. Moncrief's taking the spotlight, even though we don't know what to expect out of him. He's still taking it from him. Eli Rogers is actually halfway decent, especially if the Steelers do continue to throw the ball like they did last year. He has good value. Not tremendous value, but this is like a deeper league of a sleeper type of thing here. So I don't know how much he'll contribute, but he definitely has a chance to make a splash on the Steelers team.
And Dante Moncrief always has a chance of getting hurt.
Oh, I mean, that's always a possibility.
So
with Dante
if
Moncrief.
He gets hurt, and James Washington can't get up there, Eli Rogers is going to be on the field a lot. And that's all that matters. If he's getting targets, that's all that matters. They are projecting him, and I don't even know where they get these projections. I'm just saying they can't all be bad. They're fairly accurate-ish for the most part, and they're projecting him to get 74 targets this year. That's pretty good for a guy that most people wouldn't even think about.
Right.
All right. One division left.
Here we go.
AFC West. I am going to start with the Oakland Raiders, and we know who they just picked up, multiple positions. Josh Jacobs, Antonio Brown. There's a lot of hype there.
Yes.
But I don't think their team is very good still. And what does that mean? That they're going to be playing from behind.
Yes.
And if you're playing from behind, do you think you're going to have your first and second down running back in there most of the game?
If you have somebody that has caught 68 receptions last year.
Oh, is that what this is?
Then maybe you throw him out there.
Huh. That could be an interesting.
Who are we talking about?
Oh, we're talking about Jalen Richard. This guy has value.
Yes.
He had no touchdowns last year, so he didn't stand out. But he had 68 catches for 607 yards on 81 targets.
Yes.
If they're playing from behind this year, this guy is going to be on the field a lot.
Right. And because I have a bunch of stuff written down here, but I'm not going to go through it because it's going to be all messed up now that we talked about the receptions. But Josh Jacobs last year in college had 20 receptions.
Meh.
So, yes, exactly. It's a meh. Like you got somebody who's caught 68 in the NFL or 20 in college. Not saying Josh Jacobs not going to get his fair share of receptions. I'm sure he will. But Richard has got it right now. And to say that he's not going to have fantasy value, especially in PPR leagues, would be a stretch. He's going to have some. This is almost my favorite guy on this list because he's not just the backup. He's also a PPR guy.
Yes, he is.
And he's definitely going underneath the radar right now.
I don't know if I want to compare him to this guy I'm thinking of because he doesn't score touchdowns for whatever reason. Jalen Richard has not scored touchdowns. He has a total of like 6 touchdowns in his career in 3 years, which is nothing.
Yeah, that's nothing.
But he looks like a guy. He acts like a guy when it comes to the amount of attempts and the amount of receptions, like Chris Thompson was a couple years ago. And if he can throw a few touchdowns in there, just 4 touchdowns, that's all I'm talking about.
That would be really good.
That is a guy that you can pick up off the waiver wire at any point from now and probably a couple of weeks into the season, unless he goes off and has like 10 catches in week 1 or 2, and everybody's like, "Ooh, is this the next guy?" I'm telling you right now, this guy has value.
There's no doubt. No doubt he's got. If he can get the touchdowns, man, it almost puts him in an RB2 category. Like that's putting it real close, and that's a real sleeper right there.
That is a real sleeper because everybody's hyping up Josh Jacobs.
Yep, of course. I mean, and rightfully so. He's a good running back, but he's not the guy that's going to catch 68 receptions. He's going to catch. I'm going to give a little prediction on Josh. He's going to give you 35 receptions at most. I can't imagine too many more than that. I can't imagine too many less than that either. So I'm feeling like 35 is the magic number. I do think that Richard's going to have more than that. Yes. Almost guaranteed.
I would say if he doesn't get 50 plus, then there's something wrong. And that even just 50 would be a little bit of a disappointment to where I see his fantasy value, because I don't see the Oakland Raiders being very good.
There's a very good possibility that they're not going to be that good. But they do have a possibility. They have some guys. It could be good this year. We'll see.
Okay, let's move to the Chargers of Los Angeles, and this is an interesting one. And we've talked about Phillip Rivers before.
I can't believe we're doing this.
You can't believe
this is an insane one.
This is insane.
All this time we've made fun of this player. Everybody's made fun of this player. Who's this player?
This player is Travis Benjamin.
I mean, he's been part of the jokes all the time. He's been laughed at so much because he's just never put it together. It's like I said, I can't believe we're putting him in a sleeper category, but can he be productive once again? Because he was productive a little bit there for a little while. Tyrell Williams is gone. That's the key.
Exactly.
That's probably the best. This is probably the best chance for Benjamin to have a good fantasy season again. So I know last year he struggled with some injuries. Again, we'll talk about injuries. It's just how it is when it comes to sleepers sometimes. So I know it seems crazy, but if he wasn't hurt last year, he may have had a fairly successful year.
Yeah.
Chargers have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, hopefully Hunter Henry, and then hopefully Travis Benjamin can get back on board and capitalize on his opportunity this year, because he already has the opportunity. He doesn't have to hope for an injury.
Right.
He's got the opportunity right now in front of him. He has to capitalize. And you better believe he's going to be available in most leagues. Even if he's in like the last few rounds of your draft, it's kind of worth it because he's got the opportunity.
Yep. It's all about targets, and he's stepping up into that third role. Now, what do we have in Keenan Allen? We have a PPR monster.
Yep.
Guy that's going to get a ton of catches, not a billion yards, and not a ton of touchdowns, but Keenan Allen is
the guy
consistent.
Yeah.
Mike Williams is a guy that has been boomer bust.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think he's going to be a great player this year.
There's a possibility that I'm not completely on board, but I do think that he's going to have a good year. Nothing special, but it's going to be solid and fantasy relevant.
I think he is going to do about what he had last year.
Sure.
And that's, well, maybe more than that, because his 10 touchdowns really overshadowed the fact that he only had 43 catches and
Wow.
664 yards.
That's kind of standouty right there.
And he
He's gotta
also
have
had
more
a
catches.
rushing touchdown. So
Okay.
he had 11 touchdowns
Yeah.
last year. Now, if
Yeah.
he can get 70 catches for 900 to 1,000 yards and still get those 10 touchdowns, yeah, he's going to be a wide
Mhm.
receiver too. But I don't think that's going to happen, especially if Hunter Henry comes back.
That's a big one.
A big key there is Hunter Henry.
Yep.
But no matter what, the Chargers like to throw the ball.
Yep. Yes, they do.
Yes, they have Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. Well, they
Yes,
throw the
they
ball
have
at him.
Austin Eckler. They throw the ball to everybody.
Yes, they
Phillip
do.
Rivers throws the ball. I can't stress that enough. Phillip Rivers throws the ball. I mean, he
Mhm.
has had upwards of 570 to 662 attempts in certain years.
Yep.
That's a lot of attempts.
Yep.
And there's a lot of balls to go around in LA for the Chargers. So Travis Benjamin, again, deep leagues.
Yep.
But he has been a punt returner before as well.
Yeah, that's a
I don't
possibility
know
there.
if they will put him back there, but again, it's all about opportunities.
Yes.
And speaking of opportunities, let's go with the Denver Broncos and the other rookie tight end on my list.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot that we are going to be able to say about Noah Fant yet.
Yeah.
But he can be a great asset.
Yes, and I think he's teetering on not being a sleeper because he's kind of
Right.
people have already kind of getting a hang of who Noah Fant is and how good he could
Yes.
be. So again, he's going to have every opportunity this year. It's Flacco, so don't go crazy. Just keep it real. It could be a stinker of a season, but it could be a really good season as well. But it almost seems like, in a way, it helps Fant's chances with Flacco under center.
Yes, I've always been a fan of whoever Joe Flacco's tight end
Yeah.
has been. Obviously, Dennis Pitta was
Yeah.
a great
That was
PPR
good.
tight end back in the day. I think Noah Fant can be something similar. And there's nothing else there. And he's on this list because he's a rookie tight end. And in redraft leagues, nobody's going after the rookie tight end.
Yep.
So again, if you're going to punt tight end in your redraft leagues this year, this is a great guy to go out and get as one of your 3 or 4 tight ends and
Yes.
just be like, all right, one of these guys has to be a good one.
Yep.
Because are you going to draft Jeff Hireman? Are you going to draft Jake Butt?
I don't know, maybe.
I think Noah Fant has more talent than
Man.
both of those guys combined.
Yeah.
So that's where I am with Noah Fant. We've already talked about him.
Yeah, we have.
This last guy.
Wow.
This is a deep sleeper.
Yes.
And the only reason I have even considered him, I've seen his name pop up in a couple different places that I've read, not news stories, just I don't even know where these people are getting their information from. But there have been guys that have been right about this in the forums that I have seen.
Okay.
And somebody's got to catch the ball in Kansas City.
You're right about that.
Tyreek Hill
Yep.
may or may not play this season.
Yep.
May play 8 games,
Yep.
may play 4 games, may play 12 games.
Yep.
We have no idea.
Yep.
Sammy Watkins
Mhm.
may get hurt.
He may play 8 games.
He may play 8 games. He won't be suspended,
Yeah.
but he may play only 8 games. And like we said before, Travis Kelce should be
The monster. Yep.
a monster.
Yep.
And McCole Hardman
Yep.
has not had a whole lot of experience playing wide receiver in any capacity.
Agreed.
So if you're going to be in a deep sleeper situation,
Yes.
I'm talking about Marcus Kemp.
Marcus Kemp. Yep.
It's a feeling I've got. It's almost an ESP, but why not stash one of these Kansas City wide receivers on your bench? If you're in a 14 or 16 team league, just take the chance.
Yep.
He could be anything. He has almost no stats.
Yeah.
He had 1 catch for 7 yards last year. This is the deepest a sleeper can be without being in a coma.
Yeah, this is one of the guys that you put on the list, and I was like, okay, I have to dig a little bit. So I did a little bit of digging. I just went back to 2016 when he was in college, playing for the University of Hawaii. he tallied up some decent numbers that year. So let's take a look. He had 73 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 8 touchdowns. I know it's Hawaii.
Yes.
So it's not in his college. It's a little different, but it shows you he can do it. He's not somebody that can't do it because he's never done it. He has the talent. 73 receptions, 1,100 yards. That's a lot of yards for the receptions that he got. And the 8 touchdowns, boy, that would be huge if he can get with who? Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes. That's the big key right there. I think another big key is Hill. If Hill plays, I don't see this.
Probably
I don't
not.
see this going on.
Unless Sammy Watkins gets hurt and they still need a number 2 wide receiver, then there's still a shot. We are never going to let Sammy Watkins live his injuries down.
Again, like you said, McCole Harmon, we don't know. We don't know what to get out of him. We expect some things out of him, but we don't know exactly what we're going to get out of him right now.
Oh, he is, like I said, he is a huge, giant,
big time,
deep sleeper. But if you're thinking about stashing people, go through rosters like the Kansas City Chiefs, like the Indianapolis Colts, anybody with a major, big time stud elite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. One of those Green Bay wide receivers is going to be
somebody's going to have to.
We'll talk about that next week when we do our NFC side. But there's just follow the elite quarterbacks and stash a couple of those guys. I mean, just go look and see what the roster brings you for the Kansas City Chiefs. Demarcus Robinson is still there. I mean, he could be that guy. I mean,
it's possible.
My fantasy league is projecting him for 47 catches, 727 yards, and 5 touchdowns. That would be an amazing sleeper too. So maybe Demarcus Robinson. I mean, he's only been in the league for a couple of years. So I'm going with Marcus Kemp because nobody is thinking about him.
Oh, they're absolutely not. You don't even have to draft him.
No.
You can just wait and see if something's going on for week 1. If he gets any type of receptions at all, you're thinking, all right, this is the chance. If he goes off, you're probably not going to get him.
Right.
But if he gets like 2 or 3 receptions, all right, now you have something here and you can actually pick somebody up without anybody else actually thinking about it. So keep him in the back of your mind because there's a possibility there. That's all I'm going to put because it's for me that the biggest piece is Patrick Mahomes. I've seen what he can do last year with guys that I've lost trust in, like Sammy Watkins. And I saw it. I was like, wow, he made Sammy Watkins valuable again.
Yes.
And that's, to me, a big part of the reason anybody on the Chiefs team can be fantasy relevant.
And the biggest thing this offseason right now is Tyreek Hill isn't there.
Right. Yep.
So these guys will have a chance to play with Patrick Mahomes in a little bit of capacity. Normally, guys like this will be with whoever the backup is, and they'll build a rapport with that guy, and you'll see him go off in preseason because he gets to play 2 quarters with the backup quarterback against backup defenders, and he looks really good, and then all of a sudden he gets out there with Patrick Mahomes, and he doesn't know what's going on because he hasn't built that rapport with him. So there's a chance that he could build that rapport while Tyreek Hill is out, or if Sammy Watkins gets held back in the preseason. All right, I'm going to say this right now. If the words Sammy Watkins and hamstring are in the same sentence in this preseason, stay away and stash whatever Kansas City wide receiver you feel has a good chance.
Absolutely. You said it perfectly. Right on the money.
All right. I think that wraps it up. We got all 16 teams for the AFC. And we have gone a little over an hour.
It's maybe because we were looking at each other.
It could be. I don't know.
A special bond going on.
Something like that. So, yes, that is going to do it for our AFC version of the Sleepers. We have one more Sleeper edition next week. We've already got our guys picked. Now we're going to do a little bit of research, and we're going to give you some really good insight. I think I'm going to like talking about the NFC more than the AFC. There was 2 guys that I really like talking about in the AFC, but there's a whole lot of guys in the NFC that could really surprise some people. And one's going to put a smile on Tom's face when we talk about him, but we'll figure that out next week.
Oh, man.
All right. So if you are looking to find us on any social media, you can find us at Fantasy Fuel on Twitter and Facebook.com/Fantasy Fuel. And of course, what's our website?
I think it's fantasy fuel podcast.com. It's fantasy fuel podcast.
FantasyFuelPodcast.com.
Pretty simple, guys.
So yeah, if you'd like to see all of our rankings
Yep.
and the one mock draft we've done so far, we're gonna have to do another
Yeah,
mock draft episode.
we have to
and
do
put
that
that up
soon.
for you now that we've gotten a little more info. But yeah, there we are, FantasyFuelPodcast.com for all of your needs. You can find all of our YouTube videos there. If you are watching on YouTube, thank you. Click that bell, click subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give us a little review and all that. It really does make a little bit of a difference.
It does. Yes, it does.
All right, that's it. Don't forget, stay fueled up this off season.